Assuming you are a SOC analyst or a cloud security analyst, you just resume your shifts and you open your Microsoft Defender, then you notice about 78 incidents has arrived. What will you do first? What will you investigate first as a SOC analyst or cloud security analyst? And as you can see from the incidents, we have privilege escalation here, we have from AWS, we have from Azure, we have suspicious routes, accounts, credential access. You see, we have mass resources creation and deletes. Then we have multi-stage involving privilege escalation. Now we have a lot of incidents, and there are about 78 incidents. Which one will you actually investigate first? And in this episode, I'm going to show you how we triage in cyber security. So triage simply means picking the most impactful and the most high risk incidents out of a lot of incidents. So that's what triage simply means. So let's go into the game and understand better. Now, before I proceed, there are two terms that we actually need to understand. We need to understand the difference between alerts and incidents. Now, what is an alert? An alert is a single security incident. A single security incident, that's what we call an alert. And why do we have alerts? We have alerts because there's already a detection rule. And that is why we mostly have alert inside or each of these incidents. So alert is what is a security incident that usually flag because they actually match the detection rule that has been placed in this infrastructure. Incident is the correlation of alerts into a single schema. So it means that the combination of different alerts, they are the ones that become incidents. Okay, let's take a look at this incident 281 now. This is incident. Now, inside this incident, we have alerts. So if I click on this, now we could see we have alerts. If I click on this alerts, so we could see this is an alert. You could see this is an alert. So this alert is what? Is a single security incident about what has happened. And mind you, in this one incident, we can have up to 5 alerts, 6 alerts, 7 alerts, or 8 alerts. So we can have more alerts inside incidents. So in a nutshell, alert is a security incident that actually tells us that something suspicious has actually happened. One incident is the one that correlates and combines all those alerts into a single format. So that's just the difference between alert and incident. I hope that is clear. Now, mind you, alert inside this does not actually mean that malicious thing has actually happened. It simply means that the security analyst need to investigate it, need to find out about what actually happened here, and that is why it actually fired. And the reason it fired is because it actually matched the detection rule. So not all alerts or not all incidents are actually malicious. Some of them, they are actually normal. So that is when you actually need to understand the difference between true and false positive. Alert is a single security signal, while incident is the correlation of different alerts within what? Within the infrastructure. Okay, let's say for example now, we could see from this incident ID 281, we could see that it says access key created for AWS root user. Now, this one was actually telling us that in our AWS infrastructure, someone actually created an access key using AWS root accounts. Now, this one is a single alert because it is just a single security incident. Now, the incident is now when that person actually created this particular key. When that person actually created this particular key. Now, if that person now use that particular key to create an IAM user on AWS, then he now use it to become admin and overtake the whole organization. So that is another signal. If you also use that key to access database, that is another signal, making 3 signals. If you also use it to access S3 bucket, that is another signal. You also use it to turn up maybe serverless server like Lambda in order for it to waste resources. That is another security incident. That's another security signal. So all those signals combined together, they are the one that become this one incident. So incident is the combination of different alerts that correlate. So that's just what alerts and incidents. But to wrap it up, alerts tell us a single story of what actually happened. While incidents tell us the full story, the full season film, the full episode of what actually happened when such activities take place. So that is what incidents mark together to give us the full details, the full story. So whenever you see an alert, don't conclude. You need to investigate the incidents to know the attack issue of what actually happened. Whether it is too positive or false positive, it is through investigation of incident that you'll be able to know that. And as you can see here, we have 78 incidents. This does not actually mean that we already have 78 attackers in our infrastructure. No. And this does not mean that there's already 78 breaches in our infrastructure. No. These were just the signal, the security signal that actually match the detection rule. And that is why we have a lot of them here. All this one does not actually mean that we have 78 attackers, or we have 78 threats, or we have 78 problems. No. Some of them may actually be normal. But because they actually match the detection rule that has been built, and that is why it was. So don't be scared. Let's understand the dashboard very well. We need to understand this defender dashboard very well, so that we can be able to analyze, investigate like an analyst. So the first part is the status. Now this status now always be new. So for new attack, you surely see this one as new, meaning that they just entered, meaning that they just arrived, meaning that they are fresh. That's what the status implements. If you see progress, meaning that there's already work going on it. So somebody is already working, maybe one of the analysts is already working on it. If you see this up, it means they have actually looked through it and they have detected one that is too positive and the other is false positive. That's it. Now the second part is the severity. Now this severity simply means the impact that each alert has on the infrastructure. So that's what it simply means. the impact that the alert have on the infrastructure. When we say high severity, it means that the impact is very, very much. Meaning that it can cause a lot of damages when it happens. In fact, it can even cause loss to the company. When we say medium, it will also cause loss, but not as much as high. Then when we get information, information means it will not really cost us anything if such attack happen. That's what that means. Then we will see the priority score. This priority score does not actually mean that those ones that have higher priority score, they are more than those that have lower. No. This priority score does not actually tell you to pick the highest one instead of the lowest one. No. You as an analyst, you still need to what? You still need to triage, you still need to go through it one by one, you still need to investigate the incident, what happened here. Okay, let's take for an example. This one is 45, priority score. One have 69. And if you look at what actually happened here, this one is what is just edge administrator. Why this one is what is credentials access. Something was created here, and access was granted here. So look at it now. Despite these two score, this one still have higher impact than this one. So don't fall for this. This is just the way the system, the detection system is actually scoring them based on priority. Then if you also look at the incident ID. So incident ID is just the one that is telling us the particular tag that we are actually operating on. So let's say, for example, if I try to do this and I finally pick this particular one. If I try to do this and I finally pick this particular one. Now, this one that I'm picking, the incident ID is what is 281. If another analyst asks me, which incident are you working on? I can just tell him or her that, oh, I'm working on incident ID 281. So that we be able to, that person will be able to understand the one I'm working on so that he or she will not go and work on this as well. So that's just the essence of ID. Then we also have the category. Now, the category is actually speaking and telling us some important facts that we need to understand. So, for example, we have privilege escalation. You can see privilege escalation means that somebody is trying to escalate this privilege, maybe from a normal user to an admin. And we see this is credential access. Now, you need to understand, based on category, anyway, you see credential access mostly have higher impacts than privilege escalation. Because if somebody have credential access, it can do anything in the organization. So this one have higher impact. You can see. So judging this with this now, this one have higher impact. You can see. And we could see the impacted asset. Impacted asset is actually telling us that which of the account on the cloud or on the infrastructure is actually affected. Like this one shows which account is affected. And that's why I'm going to go for this. Because for a root account to be affected, it means that there's a huge impact. So this one needs a close market. So you can see now, as I'm trying to analyze to understand the scenario, what actually happened in the system. I'm not just picking it based on priority score or based on incident ID or based on severity. I am picking based on what actually happened, based on the impact, based on the risk. Some have higher risk than even the other one. And we also need to look at it. Which account is affected here? Here we have two accounts, AWS. But for the fact that these ones is actually root accounts and its credentials that is being accessed, that actually call for what one attention. So I'm going to target this one as my number one priority. So this is the first one I am supposed to investigate. And we can see the service source. This one just telling us the service. The detection source, what actually detected it. It was the vendor SDR that detected this. The product name, and we could see the last updates and the last activity. You see that. And for my triaging ability, I've noticed that this one actually have higher impact compared to the rest. And mind you, it's not that others don't have higher impacts, but I'm actually picking the one that have the highest impacts. I'm picking the one that have the highest impacts that can actually affect the organization so bad. So from the look of thing here, from this, I could see that this one actually have higher impact because access key was created and it was root accounts. Highest privilege of the AWS. And that's why I'm going to triage and pick this. So this is how to triage in cybersecurity. So triage simply means you are picking most incident to treat based on the business risk and based on the impact on the organization. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this and open it. As it's a one analyst, the first thing you need to do, since you are inside the incident, you need to click on manage incidents. Then leave this incident name the way that here. You can see access key created for AWS root user. Leave it. Then severity leave it. Then the tag, we decide to give it maybe ID. Just give it 201. Then you need to assign it to yourself. This is very, very important. You need to assign it to yourself because if you don't assign it to yourself, another SOC analyst, security analyst may actually be working on this. So to prevent two analysts from working on the same incident, so you need to assign it to yourself. Then you need to change the status from being active to change it to in progress because now you are not looking at the incident. Now you want to work on it. You need to give it. Now here you don't need to touch any classification because you have not actually validated your findings. You don't know whether this is a correct account or maybe it is normal or so we don't know yet. So you need to just leave it like this. You understand? Then click on save. It has been saved successfully. So the next thing now is to gather your evidence as step one. And for you to gather your evidence, you have to investigate further. So I'm going to do that in the next. Follow me.